Hi guys, I'm Matt Schlicht from Zapchain, and I'm here with Christopher Smith, who knows a lot about Bitcoin. How long have you been working with Bitcoin?
About 3 years now.
Which is a really long time. Bitcoin's only existed for 5, and most people have only been working in it for like 1 or 2 years. And a tremendous amount of people are just getting introduced to it now. Hi guys. Yeah, so welcome. We're really excited that you can help us explain money and what is money and kind of is Bitcoin money? Is it good money? Is it bad money?
Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So let's start with money. So let's forget about Bitcoin. Let's forget about Bitcoin. So money in general, like what is that?
I mean, it's a good question. It's kind of strange that we spend our whole lives chasing after this money, but we don't usually stop to ask, what is it? Why does it work? Why did it evolve? I can go buy a snack from the grocery store for $5, right? And then a $5 bill, I trade it, and then that grocer can then take a bunch of $5 bills and go use it to buy even more snacks from a distributor, right? And the distributor got them from someone else, right? So it's like a really complex chain of events that leads to me just buying something from the grocery store. Without money, this becomes a much more complicated process. A lot of the middlemen have a much bigger job, and so it would be like I'd have to go to the original snack maker and barter with them. And if I didn't have something they wanted, if I didn't have a service or a good that they would be willing to accept, then I'd be out of luck. I couldn't have their snacks.
Right. Which would suck.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's a big problem. Money is like an abstraction of human productivity. And I think abstraction maybe sounds kind of complicated to some people, but it's really not. We use abstractions all the time. It's like an abstraction is just an intermediary or a placeholder. And so instead of having like a bartering win-win situation, say I give you cheese and you give me a coat, instead I can say, okay, I'll give the cheese to someone else.
We should do that deal, by the way. That's pretty good for you.
You like cheese, huh?
Yeah.
We could. I can sell the cheese to someone else. They give me money, the placeholder,
right.
And then I give you the money in exchange for the coat. And that way, I can get the coat even if you don't like cheese. You might not like anybody's cheese,
right?
And so, that's the abstraction layer. Allows us to interface with each other.
Super useful.
Yeah. So really, anything can be used as money as long as lots of people will accept it for trade. Right. However, some things are better for money than others. It's like you wouldn't choose tulips as your form of money because, like, let's say you need to save up for the coat. You're not making a lot of money on your cheese. You got to save up for a year. Well, if you're using tulips as your money, then after 2 weeks, everything you've saved is dead. So it's not good for money.
Don't use tulips.
Right. So there's also other properties that make good money. Like you want it to be scarce. You wouldn't want to choose the leaves of trees for your currency, right? Well, why should I give you my cheese in exchange for the leaves when I could just go pluck them off the tree myself and not give you my cheese?
Right.
So it's kind of a silly example, but what's the principle there? It's supply and demand. How much you can charge for something depends on how much there is and how much people want it. So when the money is scarce, that allows the value to be fairly stable. And the reason this is important is you can think about it like, what if the meaning of words was changing from one day to the next? Then it would be really confusing. You have this, it would be very difficult to communicate. So the same thing happens with money.
How'd you go to the box?
The too much opportunity, but
you guys will get it. So how do we decide, like, if I do want to buy your cheese or a coat or whatever you're selling? How do we decide that this money that I'm going to use to buy that is good?
Well, it's not just one person's decision, right? Because it's sort of like if you trade with other people a lot, you end up figuring out that it's good to collect things that lots of people want. So Bitcoin is a sort of endpoint of that process where it's less and less specifically valuable as a tool. You can't eat money. But it's something you can trade with people.
You could, maybe.
Well, you could, yeah. I wouldn't recommend it.
Don't do it.
But
they're learning a lot about what not to do today.
Right. I mean, there's money is only valuable because other people are valuable, right? If you took your money all your money to the moon with you. You couldn't build a house with it. You wouldn't be the richest. You'd be the richest person around, but there's nothing to buy there, right?
Right.
So I mean, that's a kind of, we get fixated on money. There's a sort of emotional attachment to money. I mean, people think about, if I lose my job, they get scared. It's like there's a real starvation fear there, right? And this is the same sort of emotional bond that we used to have as a tribe when you knew everyone in your community.
Right.
If your tribe hates you, then you're probably going to die because you need other people to survive. But now, through the abstraction of money, we don't interact directly with people so much. We usually interact through this interface, this abstraction of money.
Right. There's no bias.
Well, right. It reduces bias, but it also has an inadvertent effect that we get emotionally attached to the interface and not to each other. And so lots of people will abuse other people for money, which is kind of silly because all you can buy with money is the work of other people. So, but if you're saying, so it's a collective decision. What is good money? In the sense that it needs to be something that lots of people agree is good for money.
Right.
And so one thing is, like we said, it shouldn't rot. That it needs to be a store of value. So this is why traditionally precious metals were used as a form of money, because you keep them for long periods of time and nothing happened to them, as long as they didn't get stolen or something. Another thing we were saying is it should be scarce. If there's too much of it, or if the supply is unlimited or varies from day to day, it's not stable enough to use as an abstraction. Another thing is a property called fungibility, which basically means that all the units should be the same. So it's not like, so you wouldn't use rubies as a form of money. I mean, you could, but I have 1 ruby, I trade for 5 rubies, and then I try to use it to buy something else, and then they say, well, I don't like that ruby. It's very pretty.
Right.
You want it to be like, one $5 bill is the same as another $5 bill. 1 ounce of pure gold is the same as 1 ounce of other pure gold. There's no reason to prefer one over the other. Right. Because when I'm buying a snack from the grocer set the price from an expectation of what they're going to be able to buy with that price. So if they sell me the snack for $5 and then they go to their distributor and try to buy more snacks with that $5, and the distributor says, no, that I don't like that $5 bill. Bring me one with a prettier face on it. It should smell better. Then we're back in the bartering situation. Right. And it's basically like the Tower of Babel, except for with money.
Which would be horrible.
Yeah, it's confusion. We're trying to build a tower to heaven, right?
Yeah, plus you put $1 in your pocket, it gets wrinkled. You want to still be able to spend it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's another important property of money is that it shouldn't be difficult to counterfeit or to steal, because money is supposed to.
It shouldn't be difficult to counterfeit.
Yeah, you're right. It should be difficult to counterfeit.
Should be difficult.
Right, and difficult to steal.
Right.
Because the amount of money you hold is supposed to represent how much you've contributed to the economy minus how much you've taken from it. Right. But it doesn't always mean that, because sometimes people steal, and also sometimes people create fake money. We call that counterfeiting, right? And so counterfeiting is basically like stealing a little bit from everybody, because you're basically getting the right to ask for things from the economy without ever putting anything in.
And you're increasing the amount that is there too.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, so it ends up decreasing the value of the money slightly.
Which is a downside of the dollar.
Yeah, no, I think that's an important aspect. So
which I think may be a good segue into Bitcoin.
Yeah, let's talk about Bitcoin.
So, and that's what they're here for anyways.
Right, that's right.
So we have the dollar, which you can counterfeit somehow, and you could steal if you're a pirate or a bank robber or something. But Bitcoin, can you do that with Bitcoin? Can you counterfeit a Bitcoin?
No, and that was the deep problem that Satoshi solved when he created Bitcoin.
The creator of Bitcoin.
Creator of Bitcoin, because there was many people were working for years to create an electronic currency, but they kept running into this issue that if it's purely electronic, it's just zeros and ones. It's basically a file on your computer, and you can just copy it, and then that's basically counterfeiting. So
like you do with music.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I got all my music.
Right. Once it's in zeros and ones, it's a duplicatable resource, so there's no way you can really stop that from happening.